Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Babbling Irons review show. Oh, man, what a game. What a game. Can't wait to hear your guys' thoughts on it. 2-2 draw at Sheffield United. So much controversy in that last kind of 10-minute spell of the match where everyone probably thought we'd had 3 points in the bag, and somehow we've only come away with a point after some dubious refereeing decisions, shall we say, to start with. Evening, Richard. Good to have you back in the chat. Irons Lady straight in there saying, no way we'll sell Johnson now. We will get onto him very shortly. And yeah, if you're new around here to the channel, make sure to leave a like on the video or the stream, should I say, and subscribe if you're new. And yeah, let's go back to the beginning of the match, because we obviously went into the match with a lot of suspensions, injuries, AFCON, a lot of disruptions to that starting 11. So it was kind of interesting to see how we went about it. Obviously, Ben Rama was not included as well because of his red card. So wasn't too much we could do with it. Ariola obviously came back in goal. Back four was Kufau, Mavropanos, Zuma, and Emerson, with a midfield pivot of Ward-Prowse and Souček, which we just know is never going to work and just doesn't work at all. When Alvarez is missing, it's very glaringly obvious. And again, with him out of a calf issue today, it meant that midfield was just, yeah, I mean, we're going to touch on that in a bit more detail soon, but it was just not good today. And then we kind of had Fornals, Cornet, Danny Ings in the number 10 position, and Jared Bowen up front. And Cornet and Fornals were kind of switching wings throughout the match. And, it's actually how one of our goals came. But to be honest, there wasn't too much else we could do with that starting lineup. I think maybe Ben Johnson could have been the only one that came in for Kufau. If we were to look into change things, I know there were shouts for Mubama to start again. And then you look at the bench, Callum Marshall as well, another one who was on the bench, but not too much else in the way of what we could actually produce from the bench. So we were kind of forced to play our hand in this game. And, Sheffield United, bottom of the league when we were going into this, 9 points from their, 21, 22 games. It's a game we have to be getting 3 points from. We're going to get onto the decisions and the refereeing shortly, but by and large, even with the team we had out, it should be enough to beat Sheffield United. And I think our approach wasn't right today. I think we gave them way too much respect. I mean, I was looking at kind of the field tilt and the possession, and looking at how structurally we approached the game, and we approached it as any other game, when in reality we should have been approaching it with a more front foot aggressive nature. And I think in the first half we saw them making a few mistakes defensively when we applied just a little bit of pressure. I mean, Danny Ings, who was very, very good today, was obviously pressing from that number 10 role and pushing up with Jared Bowen, as kind of making us a 4-4-2 when we didn't have the ball. And he was forcing some nice turnovers. But, it's a shame, because we had a real good chance to get 3 points today. And in my opinion, we didn't approach it in the way we should have, even with the likes of Paqueta, Kudus, Alvarez, Aguerd, all missing. We still had enough, in my opinion, to go to Sheffield United and take the game to them. It shouldn't have been on us to kind of sit back and be compact and try and counter Sheffield United. That should never really have been the approach today. But we know with a David Moyes team, that's what you're going to get. So, it makes it difficult. And, as Paul's kind of mentioned on here, Souček is devoid of technical ability. I think a lot of the players let themselves down, especially in the first 20 minutes. We were really poor on the ball. I thought we won the ball back in some good areas. As I mentioned, Danny Ings was one of those who was doing that. But other than that, it was just really poor when we did get the ball. And, the commentators kept saying, oh, I like this from West Ham in the second half when we were taking an extra touch. Yes and no. We should have controlled the ball a lot more. We were giving the ball away far too easily and far too sloppily and trying to rush things. But at the same time, a lot of the passes we were doing when we had it in safe areas were safe balls. And there wasn't much penetration happening from either side. There weren't many players finding the pockets, and we were just getting kind of out-muscled. And I think in the second half as well, which we'll get onto, we lost the aerial battle, and we lost that physical duel at the back, which ultimately got them their penalty, which, again, we will touch on very shortly, because it was never a penalty. And that was pretty clear. But yeah, I think that the approach wasn't great, but we did somehow manage to take the lead. Obviously, Cornet was the one that got the goal in the end, and it was actually a really nicely worked goal. Fornals was key to it, who didn't have his best game, but he was kind of instrumental to both goals today. Some really nice exchange of passing. Obviously went out to Kufau on the right hand side. He pulled it back for Ings, who'd made a nice run off the back of a defender. Obviously got lucky with how it kind of ricocheted back into him after the tackle, and his deflected shot out to Cornet, who took the finish like a player who has not been, who has been playing for a long time in this squad. And, I think by and large, his performance wasn't very good today, Cornet. But that finish was very good. And what we've said about Cornet on this channel before is he will score you goals. He's proven that at Lyon, he's proven that at Burnley. He will score goals when you give him the opportunity. So yeah, I was really happy for him to get his goal. Again, his overall contribution to the match wasn't good, but I think he took the finish really well, and it kind of eased a little bit of the pressure maybe that some had going into the game. Obviously, when you take the lead at somewhere like Sheffield United, you would expect to go on and win the game. And on two occasions we did that today and didn't win the game. So that's definitely an area of concern for me. But I think tactically, as you say, in that first 20-25 minutes, it was very lethargic. It was very evident that we were missing a few players. But as I mentioned, Fornal's not a bad player. It's just a player who's just got such underwhelming amount of confidence at the moment, where it's just so evident when he's on the pitch that we just don't have enough with him. And same with Cornet. Again, he has to do better on the ball. But again, it's a player that hasn't played any football really at all. Danny Ings, another one who worked his socks off today, and he was probably one of the better players in terms of holding up the ball, linking play really well, especially in the second half. But yeah, I just think that's where we often go wrong in matches. We've kind of got away with it a lot of the time this season, where we've taken the lead in a match and we've been able to hold on to it, or go 1-0, 2-0, 3-0 up, and the game's done, and the chances that come up against us, then the teams haven't taken. Today, it was the opposite of that. We just weren't creating enough chances. We had a couple in the first half, kind of half chances. I know Bowen went through and he should have probably scored at 0-0. And also, we had another chance where we kind of picked up the ball in the middle, and we just didn't have enough when Cornet picked it up from one of their mistakes. He just kind of waited. He took that extra touch and got tackled. And that was kind of the story of the first half. And you're thinking, just get into half time, take the 1-0, reset, and then you can try and play that counter-attacking style, because Sheffield United are inevitably going to have to make some changes and go for the match because they're bottom of the league on 9 points. So that was what's frustrated me the most as well. Again, a lapse in concentration. I thought Zuma was absolutely diabolical today, all over the place, was losing the physical battles. And that's basically what happened for their goal. It was just really poor defensively all round. Obviously, the ball came in, that was whipped in. Areola made a really good save. Initially, when, I can't remember who it was, but he ran off the back of Zuma. Areola makes a really good save, obviously parries it out into a dangerous area. And the man I identified in that area was Ward-Prowse. As good as he's been with the goals and assist contributions, we just know he can't sit in that deep double pivot. And defensively, he's going to leave you a little bit liable to these kind of situations where obviously Ben Brereton Diaz, who I think every West Ham fan thought was going to score today when he was in the lineup, did score. And, the reason he scored that goal is because Ward-Prowse wasn't switched on defensively, and he let him kind of run in front of him. And, it was a good finish, but a goal that could have easily been avoided. And it's just frustrating that came just before half time, when we were kind of lulling into the second half at that point, and we could have gone in with, a goal ahead. But yeah, that happened, and then we went in at 1-1. And yeah, we had the chance to take the game to Sheffield United in the second half. We didn't do that. We let them kind of dictate what was happening, and we'll get onto that very shortly. But let's have a look at some of your messages in the chat. Early Doors Football TV, big up Frankie, thank you, and big up to you too. Thank you for being in the chat. Paul G as well. Johnson was superb, been steadily improving each game lately. He should get the right back start IMO. Again, we're going to touch on him very shortly. Richard, until we are coached to play football, we will play how we do. Yes and no. I think we're coached to play how Moyes wants to play. Whether you see that as football, that's up for interpretation. But you can't deny the success that he's got playing the way he has. And, we had a lot of missing players today. Let's not forget that. But even with that considered, the players we had out on the pitch today were still good enough, in my opinion, to win the game. Especially with the chances that we had to wrap it up. we're going to get onto the second half, but it's just really, really frustrating. And Paul here as well. We are coached to stop the opposition, give it to the exceptional front three, and let them score from the few chances we create. It's worked so far, but they can't keep up that success rate. Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think yes, we are coached to stop the opposition, and it hasn't been that way this season. I think defensively we've been really poor. Obviously, recently we had a few clean sheets in the Premier League, but again, we've gone back to that leaky nature of our defense, and we just don't look right. When we're trying to sit back, and it's way too easy for teams to make their way into our penalty box and create chances. I think Sheffield United in the first half today had 12 shots, which is the most in the first half they've had against any other Premier League team so far this season, which kind of indicates that we weren't great defensively. They just weren't very good at attacking. That's kind of the bottom line. A better team would have put a lot of goals past us today, especially in that first half when they were creating a lot of dangerous positions, just weren't taking them. But yeah, I think we are kind of coached to try and stop that from happening. Again, it's more so that when we take the lead, we can do that. And I think fans are a bit more happy to do that because obviously if you're winning a game, you're not going to be as frustrated sitting there as a fan when you're, soaking up a bit of pressure and trying to hit teams on the counter. It's when you go behind in a match or you're not winning a match against, say, like Sheffield United, if you're drawing, then what do you do to change that? Because you can't really just sit in with the same pattern because you're relying on something, a moment of brilliance or something to happen out of the ordinary, which isn't sustainable. So, yeah, I definitely agree with parts of that. It's just, yeah, we're kind of being unstuck a little bit because our clinical edge in front of goal hasn't been there in the past few games against Bristol City in the first round, the first match we played against them. We should have had them away. We should have had them 2 or 3 goals away by the time they scored their equaliser. Same in the second, in the replay, we had a lot of chances there to finish them as well, despite going down to 10 men. And today we had enough chances to finish and kill the game, which Moyes alluded to in his press conference as well after the match. But yeah, I mean, the ref didn't help himself, which we'll get onto. Let's not, yeah, I'll get onto that comment in a minute from Babbling. But yeah, I think going into the second half, I think we wanted to see something a little bit different. I think we'd played okay in the first half, not amazing, not terrible. I just think defensively we weren't good enough. Our approach was too slow. And if we had pushed up higher on Sheffield United, I think we could have squeezed them. And I think we saw that in the second half. There were times where we were dropping off way too much and allowing that kind of big aerial threat to happen. And they brought on Ollie McBurney at half time, probably to do that exact thing that they wanted to do. They took off Usola, and they brought on McBurney, and he was winning every header against Mavropanos, against Zuma, and credit to Chris Wilder, he identified that is an area that they could go down to get some success. And we weren't winning the second balls. Yes, the conditions and the wind and stuff were making it difficult, but we weren't doing the basics. We weren't doing the fundamentals right. They were getting bodies around McBurney when he was winning the heads, the flick-ons and winning the aerial duels. He was winning fouls against us. Yes, the ref wasn't very good with a few of his decisions in that second half, but by and large, we weren't doing enough. And on the ball, we weren't creating enough either. And that was kind of a big concern because we were kind of lowing through the game. And then with 20 minutes to go, that's when we saw our first sub happen. And obviously, there was a mixed reaction from the away fans in Sheffield tonight when that sub was made. And I think most West Ham fans watching it were kind of thinking, this is a really strange sub because he took off Cornet for Ben Johnson. And you're thinking, okay, we're going to just go to a back 5 here? Are we going to try and hold on to a point away at Sheffield United? Very negative approach to take. Yes, we didn't really have much other options on the bench unless you look at someone like Mubama or Marshall or even someone like George Urphy, who has been very good for the youth side. And it's just Moyes doesn't kind of trust that side at the moment. And then, Ben Johnson came on. We didn't play a back 5. He came on into that midfield 3. And he showed up both Souček and Ward-Prowse in his 20-minute cameo with how it should be done. He brought a level of composure. That kind of one of the first contributions he did was basically Cruyff turn it into open space and kind of shut out their attackers' press. And he just drove with the ball about 50, 60 yards. And that intent, it just kind of changed the approach from a few other players. It lifted the technical soundness of the team. As bizarre as that sounds, a couple of contributions Ben Johnson was doing, he was keeping the ball well. He was winning tackles. He was just playing the simple passes. He was driving into space with the ball. Something our players weren't doing. Souček is someone who was absolutely terrible today at keeping the ball and just doing the basics. Kufau, another one. Fornals as well. Yes, he'll try and create a few different things, but doing the simple things right, it just wasn't there. Even Emerson as well, who's been fantastic this season. It took him until really Ben Johnson came on to start playing his football well and start contributing to both offensively and defensively. But yeah, it just brought that level of reassurance to the match that we needed at that point. And I think we started to turn the screw a little bit. We started to get control of the match, and it's something we just don't see with Souček and Ward-Prowse double pivot in midfield. It's just we just don't have any control over a match, and I think that's the biggest issue we currently have. And you look at players like Phillips being linked to us. It absolutely makes sense why we're looking at a defensive midfielder who can control games and control the ball and bring that level of assurity to the midfield, because Souček wasn't doing it. Ward-Prowse, we know he's neat and tidy on the ball, and he definitely improved in the second half, but they're not players that are going to come and show feet and try and come and get the ball in deep areas. Souček wants to be in the box and latching onto knockdowns or finding his way in the box for a goal. Ward-Prowse is similar. He likes to play in the final third and keep things ticking, but he's not someone that likes to come defensively and pick up the ball and move things around. It's not really his game, and it kind of negates what he does in the final third with his press. And when you bring in someone like Ben Johnson, who was just bringing so much calmness to that midfield, it just raised the game of everyone around us. And that's how our kind of goal came. Some really nice player down the left-hand side. Emerson linking up with Fornals. Fornals played a really nice pass into Danny Ings, who was excellent, by the way, all game. And he kind of turned his defender, done really well to get into the box. Clear penalty, clear foul on him. And then Ward-Prowse was there to step up and put us ahead with 10 minutes left in the game. And you're thinking, okay, now is the time to be solid. Now is the time to pick off Sheffield United when we get the chance. But you just need to keep that level of assurance, that level, keep that level-headedness that Ben Johnson has brought. And I thought we did that really well for the next 10 minutes or so. We really did. And, it only took till, the 93rd minute until you think, okay, this game is done now, because they got their red card. Again, I don't know how they didn't initially give a red card for that challenge. I mean, he's got both feet off the air. It's a crunching tackle. And they still didn't give it. And the ref gave a yellow and was waiting for VAR to intervene. It was just a mess. It was a clear red card. And then you're thinking at that point, okay, just control the game. You have 3 minutes left. Don't do anything stupid. Keep the ball. Keep it moving. If there's a chance for a third goal, go get a third goal. If not, just keep the ball, keep moving it around, and don't give them anything else. So what do? We do the exact opposite. We nearly score for a third goal. Danny Ings gets the ball in the box. His effort was blocked twice. Just wasn't his day in front of goal today. And then obviously he came off. And that's when we brought in Mubama. And you're thinking, okay, there's literally 1 minute of the 6 minutes added on left. Just keep it. Just keep it how it is. Don't do anything stupid. And what do? Again, we lose the aerial ball on the side. It comes out to the left-hand side. Kufau tries to win it, who's just been booked, by the way. Again, he shouldn't have been booked for his first yellow card, because he was saying about the red card on Emerson, but he did. He picked up a yellow card. You now have that in the back of your mind. Don't do anything stupid. Kufau does the exact opposite. He comes steaming out, completely misses the ball, treads on his opponent, and gets a second yellow card in a dangerous area of a free kick. And we're back down to 10 versus 10 with literally a minute left on the clock. And you're just thinking, what is going on? I don't think any West Ham fan, when we went down to 10 men, was comfortable at all. And I could sense something was going to happen, whether it was an aerial duel or a ball into the box. We just don't look confident. And we just instantly looked so shaky after we went down to 10 men. We dealt with the initial ball into the box well. But then obviously the ball came back in from the right-hand side. And I cannot believe that they've given a penalty for this. And I think every West Ham fan, every neutral fan, even Sheffield United fan, is looking at that thinking, how on earth have they given a penalty for that? I mean, Areola comes out, whether rightly or wrongly, in that situation, kind of misses the ball, trying to punch it away. But at the same time, McBurney has literally just elbowed him in the face, and he instantly goes down, blood coming from his nose or his mouth or wherever it was. And he points to the penalty spot. I mean, I could not believe A, that that was given, and B, they weren't checking it. I was just sat there thinking, okay, they're going to check it in a minute, and nothing came. Like, I don't understand what these officials are doing. Like, it's actually a genuine concern for what they are doing, because their job is to officiate a match, and they now can't do that. We saw it against Bristol City when there's no VAR, that they can't give decisions in the moment. They're too reliant now. They're too scared, too hesitant on what's going to be the correct decision. They're just going with off instinct and off, what they're hearing around them. Initially, I thought, okay, Ariola must have clipped into him, or Ben Johnson must have pushed McBurney in this, and it just didn't happen on the replay. There was no indication of anything like that happening, and then obviously he gives the penalty, and nothing else was given from that. But I mean, it's just unbelievable that that was given as a penalty. And I see Gary Neville's tweets today as well. I saw Nottingham Forest have appealed for what Ivan Toney did for Brentford in that free kick where he moved the white line and moved the ball. And now Gary Neville's saying, oh, we shouldn't be appealing like this. It's embarrassing. Arsenal and Liverpool have set the precedent. What is he talking about? I mean, how on earth are we going to just sit here and allow them to make these mistakes time and time and time again? There's no point just sitting in silence and doing it on email behind closed doors like he was suggesting we do, because it's not going to make a difference. It's not going to make a change, and that's not going to raise awareness onto the situation that is English refereeing is a joke. The standard is an absolute joke. So why on earth would I'd be annoyed if we don't go to Pugmall now, wherever it's bloody called, and complain. It's not going to do anything, but we have to keep, badgering on and complaining and, consistently raising these issues to try and make a difference, because it's just a joke. I mean, we're going to get, like we're seeing in the comments here from Paul, we'll get an apology, but it's pointless. This is the point. It's just crazy. I mean, how many times are these decisions going to happen? Not even just being on the end of one. It's just consistently this season. How many bad decisions have there been in the Premier League so far? We're only in January. And I think if we put together a montage of all the issues of refereeing decisions, this wasn't a VAR decision right here. This was not a VAR decision. This was a referee on-field decision giving a penalty for something that was never a penalty. I mean, it was an absolute joke to give it in the first place. It was an absolute joke that he didn't send off the Sheffield United player, Ryan Brewster, initially for his tackle, and he was just sat there waiting. And it was a joke that you can look at that. Even, again, we come back to VAR. Okay, if the referee's got it wrong, correct him. Don't just sit there and allow that to happen and just make it worse. I mean, it's probably the only job in the world where you've got someone else backing you up to analyze, and you have a screen in front of you to see what's happened. You get take after take after take. You can pause the match for as long as you want. There's no time limit. There's linesmen that aren't doing anything anymore. They're not intervening in matches, and they're just sitting there. They're sitting there just waiting for something. Unless it's completely outrageous or over the top, they're not going to change it. They're going to stick with that referee's on-field decision, which was completely and utterly wrong again. And it cost us. Ariola came off, Fabianski came on. They scored the penalty. Ollie McBurney as well, the one to score it. 2-2. And you're thinking, okay, we've thrown this away. For not our own fault. Partly our fault with Kufal getting sent off. I think he was ridiculous. I think he put us under pressure. The game should have been out of sight. We should have gone 3-1 up. We should have just controlled the game better. But that's irrelevant. It's irrelevant of what we've done in that moment. It's irrelevant what we've done for the whole 90-minute period in the match. The referee has cost us that point in the end. People will sit there and say, oh, our performance didn't merit the win. I don't care what the performance merited. We were 2-1 up fairly because of the decisions that happened on the pitch, not because of how we played. We were 2-1 up and we should have won the game. We should have won the game, regardless of what you think of the performance. We should be coming away from that with 3 points. And just to make it even worse, we should have had another penalty. We should have had another penalty after 2-2 before the match ended. And that one got more press and more coverage right now than that initial one. But the initial one annoys me more because it's never a penalty in the first place. And we shouldn't have to rely on the next phase of play. But we do, and it's 2-2, and there's about 30 seconds left. Ben Johnson again involved, does some really nice work on the right-hand side, cuts back onto his left foot, whips the ball in, and how on earth is that not a penalty on Jarrod Bowen? Like, what is the referee looking at? And B, why was it not checked? Because it just wasn't checked. Like, is it just because they've given a penalty about 2 minutes ago in the 96th minute or whatever, and they've given 2 red cards and things have heated up, that they're now scared to make it? They're now scared to make another call? But, like, what is going on? What is going on? I mean, it's just absolutely crazy. He's got 2 hands round Bowen. He rugby tackles him to the floor, and he gives a free kick to Sheffield United because the ball hits Jared Bowen's hand when he's falling to the floor after being rugby tackled in a football match. That isn't right. That cannot be right. You cannot be standing there as a referee thinking, this is normal. This is not a foul. This is a foul the other way for handball. What on earth are you watching? And back to the point of the linesman, what is the linesman telling the referee in that moment? Because he's looking straight at it. He can see the player. He can see him doing it. And, the referee shouldn't even need the linesman in this situation or VAR. He should be given a penalty and there should be no debate about it. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. And it's happening time and time and time again. And it's cost us again because, even after that, where they got a stupid penalty to make it 2-2, we should have then had another penalty to make it 3-2. And they could have rectified, if you will, their mistake indirectly by giving a penalty that was clearly a penalty. It's absolutely ludicrous that the officiating in England is like this, especially in Premier League, where the most money in the world is at stake, the best players in the world are playing, and the more scrutiny you're going to be under because every decision is more impactful. And I think that they just can't handle the pressure of where the Premier League's heading now. The Premier League is in such an advanced state in terms of finances and wealth, and there's going to be conspiracies about what's going on right now. But I don't think there's any conspiracy. They're just inept. They just don't know what they're doing anymore. They're out of their depth, and they can't handle the pressure of these moments with the added pressure of having VAR. And then they're now just scared to give decisions unless it's Ollie McBurney punching Areola in the face with his elbow for some reason, that they're just scared to give these decisions. But yeah, I mean, as you can see, I've definitely calmed down from earlier, but let's have a look at some of your comments anyway. Because it was a frustrating game. We've come away with it with a point. Excuse me. And it's just really frustrating because we were kind of cruising 11 v 10, 2-1 up with a couple minutes left on the clock. And we've indirectly thrown it away ourselves, which makes it even more frustrating. But the level of officiating is just an absolute joke. And, it really is a joke. But let's have a look at some of the comments we've got here. Paul as well mentioned earlier, Johnson was superb, been steadily improving each game lately. He should get the right back start. Well, he's going to have to now with Kufal suspended for the next game for his red card. But yeah, I think Johnson's a strange one, isn't it, really? Because he's been fantastic for a couple of years when he was breaking through into the team. Sorry, excuse me there. I was just sorting out that technical thing. But yeah, Ben Johnson's been, he was really good when he first came through. His debut away at Man City, I remember being up there at the time, and he put in a really solid performance at left back. And then since then, he's kind of progressed, got pushed out of the team last year where his performances dipped. And I think rightly so. He wasn't good at all. He was trialed in a back three as the right centre back. He's been playing left back, right back, and today he's come on and played centre mid. He's done much better. He's done much better in the last few games. And I think, with the contract situation he's in, he wants 60 grand a week or something like that. I think he's definitely edging towards warranting it. With his performances and also his versatility as well. The fact he's now played in 4 or 5 positions for us in the last couple of years is pretty impressive. And I think to play how he did in midfield today, he was pretty good. And yeah, I think he definitely deserves, obviously, to play the next game at right back with Kehrer out on loan at Monaco and Kufal now picking up that suspension. And he's going to miss that Bournemouth game in a couple of weeks' time. But yeah, let's see how he plays at right back because he came on against Bristol City in that position and done really well and made an impact as well. That's 2 games now where he's actually influenced the game, which is very impressive for the type of player he is. And he's definitely shown some improvements. So I would still, I would like to see him have a run in the team now at right back. I think Kufal has been pretty poor for the last month or so, and he's let himself down again today. He's let the team down again today with a stupid tackle when the game was under control. And yeah, now he's gonna yeah, now he's going to have a chance to show what he's about, Ben Johnson, and it'll be interesting. But let's have a look at another comment here. Let's have a look. We've got quite a few here. Ballon Dawson, ref was crap, but let's not pretend we were good. Another poor performance against a poor championship team. They bossed us early second half. Completely agree. We were really poor throughout most of the game. Not as bad as people were saying, but it was quite bad considering the circumstances of who we were playing. But yeah, I'm just so fuming at the what's happened with the decisions today, because regardless of the performance, we should have had 3 points. What else we got here? Quite a few comments. Let me just scroll through. Sorry, guys. Please be patient as I'm trying to find a couple of good ones here. Paul here. Moyes' first attacking sub came in the 96th minute. Ings was running it on fumes 10 minutes earlier. Again, this is a tricky one to kind of argue, because we didn't really have much attacking threat on the bench unless you were going to give Mubama or Marshall or George Murphy a game. And obviously Moyes didn't trust him in that situation. And then the change he did make did impact the game. You know, he brought on Ben Johnson to bring more control into the midfield. And as a result of that, we looked better going forwards, even with Cornet off the pitch and Ben Johnson on the pitch. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see how you view it. Ben Johnson is Philip Lahm. I mean, he put in some performance today, didn't he? It was pretty reminiscent of Philip Lahm himself, if we do say ourselves. Ben as well. Does this game show Souček and Ward-Prowse can play the double pivot? Do we need a midfielder with Calvin Phillips linked? Yes, we definitely need a midfielder. I think it's shown again that we can't play this double pivot with Ward-Prowse and Souček. Way too open, way too fragile, not enough control, not enough defensive solidity, and we just don't have enough connection between the midfield and defenders and attackers in that system. So yes, I'd be looking to bring in a midfielder ASAP, especially with Alvarez injured, and we don't know the extent of his calf injury at the moment. But yeah, not good, not good. Again, early doors football. Can anyone tell me how VAR was never used on that Areola smash in the face and the last minute bone pull down? I cannot tell you. I don't know if anyone else in the chat can tell you, but it was just really poor. Again, this is why VAR should intervene by challenges like tennis. If you think a decision is wrong, you ask to challenge it. Interesting concept. It could work. I mean, at the moment, VAR isn't working. And I don't think that would help, because even if it's raised, a lot of the time they're getting things wrong on the VAR. And it will probably just lead to more annoyance, because if you challenge something like blatant, like today, and it doesn't get overturned, they then have more issues to answer. And I just don't think they'll ever come into it. But yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting, wouldn't it? It would be interesting. Let's have a look. Another comment here. Fourth official should be given more power to make decisions, heads up for fouls that the ref doesn't see. That's the point of VAR, no? I mean, that's exactly the point of VAR, that they should be intervening. And it's really just not good enough, overall. We could sit here all day talking about VAR, and I'm sure most football club fans of every football club in the Premier League, could chat about VAR for a long time and how it's kind of gone against them this season and the last couple of seasons as well. So yeah, there's a lot of issues with the refereeing and officials, which we've touched on a lot here, but I don't see much changing with the current setup and the current referees and officials that are in charge. And it just doesn't look like it's going to be getting better much anytime soon. And, I've just come to accept now what's going to happen is going to happen. And to get away with it, you need to win convincingly. That's maybe the bottom line here today. We didn't win convincingly enough. The performance wasn't good enough. And, the fact that we're now upset about a VAR decision in the first place maybe could have been less warranted if we'd put in the performance that we did. But, there's going to be games like today where you just get through. We've got a lot of players missing. Sheffield United, obviously at home, obviously looking to win the game, making a lot of attacking subs. It's a tough one for us to take, because it was 3 points right there. Regardless of the team performance, the 3 points was there. We got ourselves ahead twice, and we were ahead in the 96th minute or whatever it was when the penalty was given. So, yeah, it's frustrating. Let's have a look here. Quiet Noises with a comment saying, actually think the attack was decent when it didn't come to Fornals. Defending was abysmal. Can't understand people wanting to ship again. Yeah, I mean, the attack was okay. Fornals actually was quite instrumental to both goals. You know, if you watch it back, he was pretty good with his passing. He played the nice pass into Danny Ings for the second goal, for the penalty that we got. And, you know, Fornals is a player that's, again, completely deprived of confidence. He knows that he's not first choice anymore. I mean, if you watched his interview before the match, he was like basically saying, you know, players like myself and, you know, the other ones coming in, it's up to us to do the job while the main players are away at AFCON or injured, etc. So he now views himself as second string, and kind of a byproduct of the current setup at West Ham, which is shouldn't be the case. I think that's a lack of rotation issue. I think it's also a performance issue. When he has played, he hasn't been good enough. I thought he'd done okay today. I thought second half he was better. And again, he's a player that can create things, and he's playing out wide when he's definitely not a winger. There's a lot of stuff with Fornals, and I think mentally he's affected by what's going on. And you know his confidence is really low. So in terms of your point about defending, yeah, I mean it's been the case all season, hasn't it? Really, you know, although we are sixth in the league still, and you know we've been getting the performances. Defensively, we haven't been good enough. We've been leaking way too many goals, leaking way too many chances, regardless of who's been playing centre back. Really, you know, we've had a complete change around. You know, we've gone to the Emirates with Ogbonna and Mavropanos and kept a clean sheet. You know, Zuma, again, a player that was really not good enough today and has been a bit wobbly the past few games, came in. You've then got Aged as well, who's made some mistakes this season, as well as having some pretty good games and, you know, offers us something different defensively and, you know, on the ball. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff to take from today. I think the players that played that don't normally play did okay. Obviously, Cornet got his goal, which is good to see, but his overall contribution wasn't good enough. Fornals, again, arguably one of our most creative players alongside Danny Ings today. And, you know, Danny Ings, as I mentioned there, was fantastic. And he deserved a Man of the Match award. Probably should have scored that third goal to kind of wrap things up. But again, it just didn't happen for him. But his link-up play was excellent. You know, that number 10 role seemed to really suit him a lot more than just being isolated as a number 9. And yeah, it was really interesting to see him play in that position and you pick up the ball on the half turn, play those pockets of space. And you know, it's the closest thing we've had to someone linking up play, which is crazy that it's taken someone like Danny Ings to show that side of our game where we can, you know, have that link play between midfield and attack. But yeah, he was good today. He was definitely good today, and I think he's made a few people eat some words about what we've said about him, including myself. You know, but it would just be good to see him get that goal and, you know, get that confidence in front of goal again. But yeah, let's have a look at some of the other comments here. Moyes needs to stop the days off and get the players on the training ground. If any player thinks they are not a team player and has doubts, then get rid. Yep, I mean it should be a team performance at the end of the day. It should be a squad performance, but again, it's annoying because we've come away from Sheffield United where we should be getting 3 points. You know, it's a fixture you look at on paper and you think, okay, we need to get 3 points here if we want to, you know, persist with this top 6, top 7 challenge. That's where I'm annoyed at dropping points today. I think the performance wasn't good enough, as we've touched on. The officiating was shocking, and it's cost us a point, the 3 points today. But if you look at the table, we're still sixth. You know, we're still in a pretty good position. We're 5 points off Spurs, in fifth. Man United a few points behind us. I think this is where it's going to maybe get sticky because we've got European football, we've got Premier League football in a really good position. And we're now going into the last 9-10 days of the window, not having made a move and not looking like we're going to make much movement unless it's a loan deal or something comes up. And we're kind of trying the scattergun approach again. And is it panic? No, I don't think it's panic necessarily. I think it's, how would I describe it? It's calculated in a way, but it's still a little bit of like, okay, we need to sign someone. And it's kind of getting a bit more desperate now. But you know, hopefully by the time we play Bournemouth, which is going to be in, you know, just over 10 days time now, hopefully Bowen, again, he didn't look fully fit today. So hopefully that time off will allow him to recover a bit more. Hopefully Edson Alvarez will be back in the squad as well. We don't know what's going to be happening at AFCON with Kudus and Aged. You probably expect Morocco to continue, but Ghana could go out. So he might be back. And Then you've got Paqueta, who we don't know how bad his injury is. Antonio, another one. So we could be getting some, key players back for that game. And then after that, we've got United and Arsenal, I think, which is some really tough games again. So it's important we do bring in a couple of players, especially letting Tilo Kehrer go as well. I think we should absolutely be bringing in a centre back. Obviously, a midfielder is paramount as well. And then it's whether you think we need another attacking player. If we let someone like Ben Rama go, then I think we would replace. If not, I think we'll stick with what we've got and wait for the likes of Paqueta and Kudus to come back into the team. But yeah, I mean, sixth with 35 points. You then look beneath us. You've got Man United on 32 points. You've got Brighton on 31 points with a game in hand on us. You've got Chelsea on 31 points as well. Newcastle on 29 points. Wolves on 28 points. So there's only 7 points between us and 11th place. So there isn't a lot of room for error, which is why today's more frustrating for me, because it should have been 3 points. It should have been a routine 3 points. And a lot of these teams that I've just mentioned there are probably going to pick up 3 points from that fixture or equivalent in the season. So we'll see. It's a funny old game. You wouldn't expect us to beat Arsenal away or, what we've done this season with some of the big high caliber wins. So things happen. Hopefully we can rectify it going into the next game. And, hopefully the refereeing decisions don't impact us too much again this season. But I don't have any hope, and I'm sure most of you don't have any hope as well. But yeah, that's going to be today's live stream concluded. Thank you for joining. Thank you for leaving a comment if you did. Make sure to leave a like on the video if you are new around here. And yeah, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are pushing for 2,000 subscribers, and we're closing in on that. So any help would be great. And yeah, as I mentioned, thank you for your comments. Thank you for your time, for tuning into the live stream today. And yeah, until the next game, come on, you Irons.